Hello everybody and welcome to Morning Call for Monday, the 8th of April 2019. I'm Fab from Hamburg and I'm back unbelievably after a week, after a whole week off. I'm back and I don't know how anything works, so you'll have to bear with me here. Turns out whenever I stop doing something like this for a while, I forget everything. So I took off over April the 1st. That was nice. I didn't see a single joke. That worked out quite well. I actually didn't take the whole week off. I was actually working, doing stuff, but I was mostly doing print stuff and nothing online, so you wouldn't have seen this. Hello, Jay Poser. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So let's get into it. I got some tech news for you. As usual, I didn't really recap. I have some older stories I wanted to mention that I'll put at the end of the show. But generally, this will be fresh news, as is kind of the promise of this show. And as I kind of was feeling out while I was compiling it this morning, it's kind of news of everything shutting down and falling apart and being shit. So just brace yourselves, get some coffee, and just, we'll just have to take this now. So the first news is, we have had some really, really dumb laws being proposed last year and this year as far as the internet is concerned. And being mostly a reaction to everybody for the last few years been saying the internet is shit, I guess. It's kind of the meme in the public sphere, social media is horrible. And Jonathan MH, state of the world in a nutshell. Well, I see. This is my point. I don't think the world is that bad. I think the reaction to a perceived badness of the world is what is currently destroying everything. Because actually, it's quite good. We have the internet. Everybody can talk to each other. There is largely peace in our time. I know that's not a consolation if you're in Syria or from Syria, but largely, we're doing quite well here in Europe and in the US, but still everybody keeps saying, I think it started with, was it 2017 when all the celebrities were dying and everybody was saying it's the worst year, and this is kind of the theme. Now, current meme in the social sphere is the internet is shit. Now, Austria has proposed a law to fix this. Austria wants to pass a law that you can only post things on the internet if you attach your mobile number to it. So no anonymity anymore. They call this a digitales Vermummungsverbot. Vermummungsverbot is one of these horrifically German words that, so in Germany, hello Mike, how are you? Onshore or offshore? I hope you're having a good day. Anyway, Vermummungsverbot is this thing in Germany you're allowed to demonstrate, right? It's a part of political expression, but there is the Vermummungsverbot, which means you're not allowed to mask yourself up. So the police has to be able to take pictures. You're allowed to demonstrate, but in case you just start destroying things, they want to be able to pin that to your person later. Now Austria is going for this on the internet. So I guess what they are proposing to introduce here is a law that will destroy all anonymous or pseudonymous expression on the internet. Just be honest, just to be clear here. there is very little real anonymity on the internet. Like, even if you don't attach your mobile number to stuff, if you do something that's actually against the law, it is quite possible for law enforcement to go to services and get people's IP addresses, and then they go to the ISP, and then they get who's using the who's using the connection at the time. So I don't know. This seems like this is going in a direction where it's just really total surveillance all the time. Like, from this, like, to post on the internet, you need a mobile number. It's only a very, very small step to use the internet. You need a mobile number, like, to read stuff. This is really scary. And I guess that's what you get. As Heiser here pointing out, this is like plans against, like, as Heiser points this out correctly, perceived anonymity on the internet by the ÖVP and the FPÖ, which is their, like, conservative right parties. Funnily enough, though, this kind of move is, like, cross political spectrums. I mean, I see quite a lot of, like, quite left people in the discussion basically advocating the same thing. So I don't think this is a right thing. I think this is just a current political thing. I think libertarianism and, just letting people have some freedoms is just not in vogue right now. Speaking of things being shit, things are being shit for Boeing. I talked about this. The Boeing 787 MAX, specifically MAX 8, but, like, generally having problems. Boeing is now winding down the production, not completely, but about a fifth. From the middle of April, they will produce 42 Boeing 787 MAXes instead of 52, so 10 less. I guess this is. Pretty much everybody. I was expecting this. Pretty much everybody was just like, people, like, customers are losing trust in that plane or have lost trust in that plane. So airlines, if they fly that plane, are under fire. Actually, I read another interesting thing this morning. So Easter weekend is coming up, which in Europe is traditionally a very, very busy time for airports and airlines, and just, like, the whole ATC, like, the whole air traffic is just off the charts. And they're having, they had problems last year, mostly with security checks, which took too long. Like, in normal airport operations, that would be okay. But then when you have a rush, like on Easter, and I guess Christmas is similar, they were having big troubles. Now they're actually saying they're trying to brace for this. Here in Hamburg, they have a new, like, security lanes that are supposed to speed things up. But now they're having a problem, and I read this, I think Flightradar was posting about this as well. Like, one of the big problems is that they just don't have enough short-range planes right now, because, of course, all the 737 MAXes are grounded. Like, if this was the A320neo, I think it would have been a much bigger problem, because in European airlines traditionally been just using Airbus more. So pretty much any short range flight I have taken in the last 10 years was on a A319 or A320 or something like that. But I guess they're still feeling the crunch, and they're still having problems because of that. Crunch is a good topic for today. Speaking of feeling the crunch, Google Play is shifting its payment processing for everybody in the UK. It used to be like a UK subsidiary would process your payments if you were in the EU, and they have moved that now to Ireland. So if you're in the UK, you still, as the register puts it, UK residents' payments will continue to be processed in Blighty, but everybody else's payments are going through a subsidiary in the Republic of Ireland now. Hello, Mike. Mike's singing already, Ireland. So I guess, there's some profit to be had there in Ireland from this whole shambles, because I guess that's the closest place you can move to if you need to, like, do stuff for the EU and you're based in the UK. So I found that interesting. In other Google news, there's a lot of Google news. There's also the news that Google had also they speak English, says Jay Paul. Yes, although that's debatable. No, of course they speak English, but as with the Scottish, if you're not a native speaker, I can deal with the Irish quite well. I love Irish country music and I'm folk music, and I've been watching a lot of TV shows. But like if you start out, it's kind of hard. I can tell you that. Anyway, Google had formed this AI ethics board. I didn't know if I'd talked about this on the show before, and I can't be bothered to look up. But basically, they had this, AI being put into cars and stuff raises a lot of ethical questions. There's obviously like killer robots. Do we have like AI in robots, like on the Korean border? Like it will shoot people, but also in cars, like there are situations in traffic where the lorry problem, whatever, where presumably the AI would have to make a decision. If this is not avoidable to kill somebody, like who would they kill? What do we do? Like Isaac's laws of robotics and all the data episodes in TNG are not enough ethical guidance, I think. So, there's a real discussion there at the moment, and Google had formed this ethics board, which they're staffed with like kind of a diverse scholars and people, and there was a huge outcry, not least from Google employees, because one of the posts was a professor, who is a president. I think he's a professor, and Keiko James. He's president of, as the register puts it, the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. So he's a conservative right, left. Not right, like right-leaning dude, right? It's not like he's a neo-Nazi, but and then there's stuff like there's like some guy declined the invitation to join, and some guy like an Oxford professor who was also on the board said he didn't know before. Says needs the zeroth law. Yeah, so Google has now disbanded this ethics board under pressure from the internet and from its own employees, which, Google is in Silicon Valley, so they're very progressive, rather left-leaning people. I find this worrying as well. I mean, isn't the point of a board like that to represent all spectrums of political discourse? I mean, you need somebody from more right-leaning, more conservative guy on there, you'd think. Otherwise, it can't represent like the whole breadth of what people feel. I mean, it's all well and good to have like a Silicon Valley board and have like all these Californian surfer dudes and, spliff smoking Rastafarians on there. And then you'd like even like not even looking at the whole, at like representing the whole planet, even in the US, you'd have like millions of people who live like in the Midwest or whatever, who are not necessarily in your same ballpark there with the political persuasion. So I don't know. I find this a bit worrying. And what's the point? I mean, this is a fucking board. What's the, like, if you have like some guy like going, oh, I'm not gonna join this board because there's like a right-wing person. You're supposed to be, even you need to be there. You need to just to discuss with people. Not to mention that this board looked like he did, that one guy would have been in a massive minority. But I mean, what happened to political and scientific discourse that we're now, oh no, that guy has another opinion, I'm not gonna discuss this even with him. Fuck's sake. I saw a very interesting, so I was mentioning I wasn't on holiday the whole time. Actually, on the last weekend, I was at a conference of my journalism union here, which took place at Spiegel Online, at the Spiegel building here in Hamburg. And one of the keynote speakers was Kurt Schnippen, who used very famous Spiegel reporter who left the Spiegel and is now doing a online this is basically online courses for journalists and reporters. It's called Reporterfabrik. And he, when he was still at the Spiegel, he did a very lauded and also a bit controversial title story, cover story on his dad. So he basically researched his dad's SS history and then wrote it. Kind of a hard story to write, I guess. It's pretty amazing. He's a great guy, so he's been in the job for ages, and he's been saying that basically there's this big fight in journalism right now, and in society in general, but in journalism between the story and facts. And he's basically saying, people are saying to journalists right now, we don't want a story, we want facts. And he's like, these people don't understand that there isn't journalism without a story, and there's always story and there's facts, because you can't have objective journalism is basically his point, because everybody has their viewpoint. You're male, you're gay, you're straight, you're female, you're pansexual, whatever, you're something, and with that it brings your own bias, right? It determines what you even look at, what you find interesting, stuff like that. Anyway, I found that interesting, just in the view of something like this, where you have calls for this right now for just facts and just, but there aren't that many. You really need a discourse between all elements you need to see all angles, or basically you can't, but you can, as a responsible journalist, or as somebody who sits on an ethic board, it's your responsibility to try to see it from all angles, right? And you have to talk to the other side, otherwise it's not going to work. And yes, as Mike points out, I'm going to stop talking about this because we talked about this on a recent Geek News Radio episode. So if you're interested in this kind of talk, listen to Geek News Radio. I'm going to go on with the news. More Google news, more things Google is killing. Google is also kicking out independent artists out of Google Play. So there was a way, the Google Play Artist Hub, where if you didn't have a record contract, you could put your music on Google Play. They're killing that. End of April, they're deleting all the music that is on there. You can't sign up anymore. And it's now saying, stream it, put it on YouTube. Google is now saying, because obviously they also launched YouTube Music and are kind of trying to position that. They're also pointing out companies like CD Baby, where you can, even if you don't have a record contract, you can basically, used to be you could get CDs made, but you can basically also put it on streaming services. Question is, what happens to people who have bought music on there from these artists? We don't know. Google hasn't said. Speaking of killing things, Microsoft is killing things, and I was talking about how it killed its Fit Health wristwatch band, smart tracker thingy, mope, whatever. They're now also killing Health Vault, which was a product that, as a patient, you could use this to store your patient data, and then give your doctors access to it, I guess. It was kind of controversial in Germany because people were saying we have very strict data protection regulations in Germany even before the GDPR, especially when it comes to health data. They're actually quite strict. They're a lot stricter than the GDPR and have been for ages. And people were saying, we don't know when Microsoft entered the market in Germany with this. People were saying, we're not sure this is this works with those regulations. And Microsoft had worked quite hard, I guess, to get this all working. But now they're shutting it down. They're saying, we're not killing our health portfolio. We're still doing healthcare stuff. But it's another one of these things where Microsoft just is killing end user things, and it just keeps on going. Because speaking of killing end user things, Netflix is killing AirPlay support, because Apple did this deal now. They announced, I talked about this at their latest thing. They announced Apple TV streaming to just TVs. Samsung and other TV manufacturers can build this now in. And the AirPlay protocol is used for this. And Netflix is saying, well, there's no way for us to get any info back on the device you're actually streaming this to. So we can't distinguish which device is which. We can't actually certify the devices, so we had to just shut down support for it. A Netflix spokesperson says, according to The Verge, which is I don't know. They say it's no longer supported due to technical limitations. So if you were using Netflix over AirPlay, I just wanted to let you know about this so you know what's going on. I mean, as The Verge points out, there's Netflix and Apple are currently in a bitter fight to the death because Apple went into the streaming market, and Netflix isn't going to be part of Apple's streaming thing, and that could be a reason for this. Or could be like I mean, it has DRM, but it could be like a DRM reason, so that the people who give Netflix a license want to know what their stuff is being watched on, and obviously Netflix can tell them that if you use their app, but if you stream it like this, they can't. That's my personal theory. I don't know. Might be something like this. In Germany, Golem is reporting that the GEMA another copyright story has closed Börse.to, which is or has compelled Vodafone and 1&1 Internet, 1&1 United Internet, to shut down access to this portal, which it's like a wares portal, and I guess it has music on it, and GEMA is like the licensing body for music. Here in Germany, GEMA they got famous outside of Germany for having this fight with YouTube, and then YouTube putting up these block things. We can't show you this in Germany because of GEMA. I would have ordinarily probably wouldn't have reported the story because it only concerns Germany, but it turns out, as Golem is reporting, that this is also happening outside of Germany. So it looks like, at least if you're a Vodafone Germany customer, if you're outside of Germany, they're blocking this. So I guess they tested this, for example, in Denmark. So I went over the border, and the roaming. I mean, part of the roaming, obviously, the Danish telecom provider realizes that you have a Vodafone Germany contract. Well, they have to for like the handoff and the roaming and the shit. So, and part of that, they're blocking this wares portal, which is interesting. I don't know if they legally have to do that. Anyway, it looks like I think 1&1, was it 1&1? One of the two, Vodafone or 1&1, is actually suing the GEMA now for this. I think let me see. So Deutsche Telekom, so my internet provider, you can still get to this portal. Oh, 1&1 is actually, yes, they are disputing this in court. So we'll see what comes of that. More blocking of shit and more copyright bullshit. Yes, and that's pretty much it. I got a few gaming stories to go, like one older or like a few older stuff and stuff I just wanted to talk about before I wrap the show up, because it's been going long. I've been ranting again about journalism. I really need a show for that at some point. So according to Ars Technica, Valve is reporting that they are. I mean, I reported on this. I talked about this. The fact that they changed their reviews, the way their reviews work because of review bombing, so that they can flick a switch and then they're basically detecting, okay, this game, because of a current controversy on the internet, in the public mind space is currently getting review bombed for reasons that has nothing to do with the quality of the game, but some other conflict, and then they can basically flick a switch, and they're hiding all these reviews. I think you can turn them on manually, but that's what they're doing. And they're doing this now to Borderlands, the older Borderlands titles. So Borderlands 1, 2, and the pre-sequel, or whatever it's called. No, it's actually, exactly. It's Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and DLC packages, which are on Steam getting negative reviews because Borderlands 2 is an Epic Store exclusive, which people are pissed off at. And I can completely understand that. I'm not interested in Borderlands, but as I've been on the record on the show, I am pissed off of this for this kind of behavior as well. Mostly because what I find so really aggravating is that people are going I read this in games journalism. Here's another rant incoming. Brace yourselves. And in gaming podcasts, we're like, oh, it's competition. It's another store. This competition. But how is an exclusive competition? How is it putting it exclusively on the one store competition? It would be competition if it was on both stores, and then the best store for the consumer would win. That would be competition. By the way, that would also be capitalism. What you're doing there is putting it on one store, some kind of weird, I don't know, state planning commission kind of fucking nap kind of thing. Oh, I just killed a tooth. Oh, no, I didn't, but that hurt. I just slammed myself with the coffee mug, and I was so spilled coffee on my shirt. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to clean that up later. Anyway, yes, dental alert, says Mike. Yeah. Oh, it's good. I actually have a dentist appointment later, so it's all good. They can immediately look at it. No, my teeth have taken worse. I can tell you. I used to play ice hockey back in the day. Anyway, yes. So they're getting these negative reviews, and so now they're turning it off. So, which is kind of understandable. I can understand that Valve's doing this because also, hi, I'm Fabish and welcome to Jackass. Yes, exactly, Jonathan. That's the new pitch for the show. I went to this Spiegel thing and they this journalism thing, and they taught me all about Snapchat and stuff. We need more action on this show, otherwise I can't get viewer numbers up. Yeah, so I think it is completely understandable from Valve's point of view. But I also kind of sympathize with the people review bombing the game. I think that's also completely understandable for reasons I have pointed out. And just connected to this, an older story that I missed in March was that one of the games that Epic's also now has an exclusive on is, which makes me very sad, The Outer Worlds, which will be exclusive to Epic Store for the first year. So this year, when it comes out, as it's planned to come out this year, and then it'll come out in 2020 sometime on Steam, which I find really sad, really dumb, and I don't get it. I can't. However much money Obsidian is getting from that, it just seems like they're shooting their own foot off. I mean, they launched it so perfectly. They announced it so well just when Fallout 76, I don't even know the number anymore. I'm so over that game. That the launch was so perfect, and now they do shit like this. Jonathan says, on the Epic Store exclusive controversy, I'm happy to break the monopoly on that one. Don't mind having my credit card in 4 stores. Yeah, you don't mind. I just don't like exclusivity deals. I think they're dumb. I mean, what this does is just we need to get rid of these fucking exclusivity deals. They're bad enough on consoles. There's no technical reason for it. It's just weird big companies doing deals that are not good for the consumer. And I'm also okay if people say, well, I don't mind this deal, right? That's okay. You can, it's not my opinion, but I'm okay with your opinion. I find it hilarious and dumb and stupid and misinformation if journalists are saying it's better for consumers. Because it clearly is not better for consumers. Less options is not better for consumers. Yeah, as Cherry Rapper says, Steam, Origin, Epic, Origin, Blizzard. How many launches do we need? That's exactly the point. That's my point. That's just what's annoying me. It's like my whole task thing here is full of fucking launches. And I don't mind stuff like Magic Arena. Where where they don't have a store. They're just like, okay, you can download it, it's free, and then if you pay money, you have to put your credit card in there. I find it okay if that's developers, if they go like, we don't want to be in a store, we're just releasing this on our own. I think that is completely cool. But just like artificially putting that into another store, it's just, I don't get it. Like, if you don't want it in Steam, then just put it out, or just, I don't know, just like these, just put it everywhere. Just put the fucking thing everywhere. That's your solution. Anyway, speaking of games, companies, and developers ruining their games, ruining themselves, and ruining it for everybody. Jason Schreier wrote a very interesting story last week, which if you're at all interested in games development, you have to read. It's on Kotaku. It's called How BioWare's Anthem Went Wrong. It's massively long. It's really long. But it's great. Basically tells the story of why Anthem was shit, how like it was named something completely, see how long it is? I'm still scrolling. It was named something something completely different. And then like a week before the E3 presentation, it changed the name. How like people like left the company because of it. Like, for example, David Gator, Dragon Age writer, who I left in 2016. I was like, why is he leaving? Yeah, it was Anthem. He was working on Anthem. It's hilarious that I guess they have musician code names inside of BioWare. They named it Dylan because they wanted it to be the Bob Dylan of video games, i.e. the most prolific thing ever that everybody will reference and everything else in that genre will be based on for the next 50 years. Well, that didn't work out, did it, BioWare? It's a great story. And Schreier has written, I just want to point this out, which I read a while ago. In 2017, he wrote a shorter but also very detailed background story on Mass Effect Andromeda and why that went wrong. And like a lot of this stuff is connected. I mean, there are some strands going through here. One being Frostbite, apparently the most horrific engine to work with, as some developer is quoted here saying it's full of razor blades. It being basically imposed by EA on all of their studios, even though it was just like a shooter engine, and it didn't have the most rudimentary stuff. For example, if you were building an RPG like BioWare was, and then they have to build everything, like a save system, an inventory system. They had to build everything from scratch. Horrific like management that didn't, like, both in Andromeda and Anthem did not decide what it wanted until way too long. They didn't nail down their tech or their story in pre-production, and then had all throughout production of both games had horrific problems, had horrific crunch. Basically, Anthem, I think is saying, was in development for 6 years, and they basically built the game in the last year, pretty much. They kept respeccing it, and it sounds a bit like Star Citizen, except they actually have management, but it still sounds like horrible. It sounds horrible for the people. A lot of people left. There was a lot of stress leave. I mean, these are both great stories. Schreier has also written a book on video game development. I'm thinking like I must read this, especially this Anthem story is some really, really good journalism. I mean, I'm often critical of games journalism, but that is actually a nice piece of work there. Okay, so before we wrap this up, what's Jonathan saying about the store controversy we're having here? I'm just saying that usually everything is on Steam, and it's fine for some competition to be there. Bloodlines 2 will be everywhere at once, I think. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm fine with competition, right? But I want competition in a game store to be based on competition from the consumer. And what you're seeing is the Epic Game Store is not being preferred because it's better. Like, it's not being preferred by consumers. It's preferred by companies because the incentive Epic is giving, like the percentage they're taking of the revenue, the engine deals they're doing, is good for the developers and the publishers, right? So it's not competition on a consumer level. It's competition on like a B2B middleware kind of level. And why do we care about this? Like, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a damn what fucking middleware they use when they make their games. So why would I care about how much revenue they have to give anybody? Like, all these stories, like, why are games journalists reporting on that? I mean, it's a story, right? But like, they're like preoccupied with that. Like, Valve's taking too much money. Who gives a fuck? I mean, they're all making money. That I'm not interested in. And what about the stores better for the consumers? Aside from the fact that, everybody who has kids has Fortnite installed and has the store ready. Anyway, I'm just seeing a world where everybody has their own fucking store, like the Bethesda fucking launcher. It's like, what the? Mike says I was just going to say that. Yeah, but Mike, you have Fortnite on your system because you have kids. Maybe that's the divide. Maybe I'm just old and grumpy, and I don't like Fortnite and don't have kids, and I don't give a fuck. Anyway, it's been a long time, but I still this show's been going on for long, and I had a long break, but it still seems I can do this. So I guess I will see you tomorrow with more tech news and apparently rants, because apparently that's I can't get away from that. Anyway, I appreciate that you're watching this. I appreciate that you're giving me a reason to get up in the morning. And I appreciate that you're actually subscribing to this channel and you're following and you're helping out. Mike says more rants. Mike, I can do that. No problem. I cannot not do that is kind of the thing. The rants, they just organically they just develop. It's like bacteria, in like a jar, like in like, I don't know, in beer, when it's, you can close it up and you can bottle it up for a little bit, but at some point they're just gonna go. That's the rant bacteria. Yes. From now on, in the beginning of the show, just ask, hey, Fabs, what do you think about enraging topic we're gonna take turns? I think that's pretty much what's going on in the chat, isn't it? Just heckling me up. But I'll rant on my own, so it's all good. Anyway, I hope you're having a good day. I need to clean my shirt now. That's not good. And see if my teeth are still in one piece. And I'll see you tomorrow for more tech news. Until then, have a good day. And if God beware, if you're in software development or in games development, I hope you're not having BioWare crunch right now. See you around. Goodbye. Where's the button to stop this show? I don't know where there.